Hello, and welcome back to our SIGNL4 video series. Today we're going to go over the SIGNL4 mobile app and give a brief tutorial of the items inside of it. As you can see here, I have loaded up my SIGNL4 mobile app. So the first thing we have here is the duty status of your user. And as you can see here, I'm currently off duty, but I do have some scheduled duties that start coming up this weekend. What you can do is we can go ahead and go on duty, and we could do this by clicking on the change status menu options there, or we could click on the picture that I have set for my user. These two options will put us on duty for all of the teams we're a member of at the same time. However, if I want to go on duty for just one team, I can also do that by simply clicking on the team here. So if I go ahead and click on the Security Apps team, we'll see that I go on duty for just that one team. And the other two teams still remain off duty, but you'll notice my duty status changes to on duty, as it's always going to put my highest duty status up here under status. Next up here is if I scroll to the right, we're actually going to show all of my next scheduled duties that are upcoming, and we can see here that for my security apps teams, I'm scheduled to work the next couple of weekends, and they show up here as my scheduled shifts, as well as this subscribe to calendar button that when you click on it and follow the on-screen prompts will actually load your SIGNL4 duties into your calendar on the phone. Next up down here, we actually have our signals in the last 24 hours box. And what this does is it's going to give us a list of all of the alerts that have come in the last 24 hours, regardless of duty status, for all of my teams. In addition to that, if I scroll to the right, we'll actually see the alerts that have come in on this last duty status that I'm on, however long that may be. So if I've been on duty for weeks and weeks and weeks, it's going to show all of the new and acknowledged alerts that have not been closed for that entire duty status. And this will show across all of my teams, even if I have no open alerts. In addition, inside of this box, if you click on either one of our numbers here, the big circle or the new, it'll actually open up the alerts filtered to just meet that criteria. Meaning, if I click on the new, it's going to show me all 5 of my alerts. However, if I go ahead and let's say acknowledge one of them, we'll see it disappears off of this screen because it's no longer in the new state. It's now in the acknowledged state. And if I go back a screen, we'll actually see how my colors change. So I have 1 acknowledged and 4 new, and even the circle shows that. In addition to this, if I can go ahead and open up the alerts from this screen, and we have a number of items we can do inside of here. First and foremost is if I click on the question mark box or this acknowledge box down here, it will acknowledge the alert with my user and we'll actually see my picture show up inside of this circle. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the acknowledge button to show this. There we can see we now have an acknowledgement. The button switches to an unacknowledgement button, and we actually show an acknowledged inside of the alert itself, as well as the acknowledged event in the timeline at the very bottom. Next up, we have the date the alert came in, as well as the team it went to, and the title of the alert. Underneath that, we have a new AI summary, and what this does is when you click to expand it, it's going to read through the entire alert and give you a brief AI-generated summary of the alert. And this is for those big, long alerts that you may get from one of your third-party systems that has a lot of excess information. You can shrink it down and get just the primary information you need by using this feature. Next up here is we have the text of the alert. And this is just be the body of the alert that was sent to us from the originating system. And it will include all of that information here. Next up down here, we actually have the actions for this alert. And as you can see, there's a number of actions we can take, from manually escalating the alert to another team, to sharing this alert with a person outside of SIGNL4. So I can actually send this via a text message, an email, even a Teams message, or even WhatsApp if that's what your team uses. Next up here, we have the chat button, and this is going to bring you all the way down to our annotation section where you can add a quick note for your team members to be able to see, letting them know that, hey, I'm working on this. And as you can see, we've actually updated this to actually be more like a chat text, and it'll actually show the date and time of your message as well there. And all of the users that have access to this alert will be able to see that chat. And then the next option down here we have is our React button. Our React button allows us to use any already created and saved remote actions that we may have. And these remote actions can be anything from rebooting a machine or rebooting a specific service on a machine to maybe even creating a ticket inside of a third-party software using a REST API. And then the one I skipped up here is we actually have our unacknowledge button, which will actually remove the acknowledgement from the alert. If I click on it, as you can see, my picture goes away. And if I scroll back down, we see the alert event still stays, but we also have the unacknowledged event that stays there as well. And we'll see that the acknowledgement is now gone. Now I can come back up here and I can add that again by clicking on the picture. And then the next option here is I have the close button, which does the same thing. It'll actually create the closed event, which we'll see down here at the very bottom with our new acknowledged and our new closed events. And then I also have the reopen event, which does the same thing as the unacknowledged. It removes the closure so that it's no longer closed, and it's been reopened. Now the next box we have here is our on duty box for our teams. And as you can see here for my IT Ops team, I have nobody on duty currently. However, if I go back up here and go on duty for my team, and then scroll back down, we'll actually see now that I do show up on the on duty tab. In addition, any of your teams that have a incoming call routing phone number will also show here. And if I scroll to the right, this will go through all of the rest of my other teams as well, showing everybody who's on duty at any given time. Now I can also click on this all teams option in the top right, and that's going to list up another view with all of my teams and everybody that's on duty across all of those teams. And for each one of these teams, there's going to be another box here where I can check for all members. And if I click on that, it's going to open up everybody who's on that team, whether they're on duty or not. And in this view, if I click on it, such as the Bruce user, I can send a message to that user in any of his approved channels. So currently, Bruce only has the email channel. He doesn't have the voice and SMS channel acknowledged yet. However, the Robert user has all three, meaning I can contact them with any one of those options. So next up down here, we have our actions tile. And on the actions tile, we have the ability to go off duty by clicking on the button. And this is going to go, again, off duty for all of my teams. Then we have a set stand-in option. And what the set stand-in option does is this is going to, on any of your next upcoming shifts, you can set a stand-in. So if you have a doctor's appointment to get to, you can ask the Bruce user to cover you. And then if he says yes, you can come in here, go to the support team and say, who's unavailable? Robert. Who can stand in? Bruce. And then we're going to select what range we want that user to cover of our shift and how long we need them to cover. Is it the full shift, or is it just 1 or 2 or 4 or 8 hours, or a custom time range? And once all that's done, you click on the set stand-in button, and that'll take your next shift, and you will cut 1 hour out of it and put Bruce in there so I can go to my doctor's appointment without worrying about alerts being missed. The next option here is our send signal option. And what this does is this allows you to send a manual signal using any of the pre-created templates from the SIGNL4 web portal. And once the templates are created, I can go ahead and select it, and it's going to fill in the text and title automatically, as well as allow me to submit my location or have a preset location, which is what we've done here. And then we can choose which teams we want to be alerted. And I can do all teams or just 1, 2, or 3 teams. So I can go ahead and send that alert out, and we can see that in action here. And then here we see our send signal history. So we see that this alert is being sent. And now that we have the icon, it's been officially fully sent. And if I scroll back up, we'll see that my number climbed up to 4, meaning I have a new alert that just came in here for my severe weather. And then the last button we have down here is, again, our remote actions button, where you can access any of your remote actions, even if you're not inside of an alert, through this button here. And then the other options we have here are actually the settings options, which can be accessed by clicking on the settings cog in the very top right-hand corner. This loads up my settings page. On my settings page, we have the option under Profile to set our picture, change our name that's going to show up inside of the mobile app. By default, it's just going to show your email address. And this is also where we enter our phone number to validate the phone number to receive phone calls and text messages, and if needed, delete the account. The next option here we have is our signaling option, and this is where we set our signaling notification patterns. And as you can see here, I have my phone and text validated, so those are active. And I have set right now that I get a push in an email instantly, and then I get the phone call 5 minutes after that, and I get the text message 3 minutes after the initial alert. We also have the ability down here to set a specific tone for SIGNL4 push notifications to set them off and make them different than any other push notification that comes into your phone. And that's where we would select that here with any of the options that are already on your phone. And we also give you a number of SIGNL4 options to give you any alert that you would want right there. And then the final option here is, because I'm on an iPhone, we have the option for critical alerts. And what this does is, when enabled, will override the volume control of the phone to be maximum volume or whatever I have set there. And this does include overriding the hardware silent mode on an iPhone. Android phones can do this as well, but theirs works a little bit differently and is done through the Android operating system and not through the mobile app itself. Next up, we have our team options, and our team options just allows you to change the team name and upload a team image for your teams if you so choose. And then our next option here is our categories, where again, for each and every team, we can select and change, edit, or add new categories for that team. Next up, we have the APIs option. And again, for any one of your teams here, this is going to show you all of the enabled email and REST API endpoints that you have set up for that team and give you the addresses. And we give you this here inside the mobile app. That way, if you're out in the field and you need to be able to set a system to hook back up into SIGNL4, you have the necessary information right here at your fingertips in the mobile app. And then the next option we have down here is the settings. And the settings is where we set our personalization options. So if we want to show the help texts or not, we can enable or disable that. And then the sound effects and haptic feedbacks of being inside the mobile app and acknowledging and changing items, we can turn those options on and off here, as well as the new dark and light mode for the SIGNL4 mobile app that can be changed here as well. And the next option here is we have our AI language, and this can also be set to German, English, or whatever your system default is for that AI option. And this is just let it read your AI a little bit better, so it's reading it in German if it's in German, or in English if it's in English. And then the next option down here is just the data privacy, where you can allow the device locations or send crash reports. And then finally, we have the About section, which just gives you your app version, or it allows you to follow us on any of our social media, as well as our terms and use and privacy policy are there as well. And then finally, the very last option is the Logout, which will log you out of the mobile app. And this has been a quick walkthrough of the SIGNL4 mobile app. Thank you, and have a nice day. Goodbye.